Cass Holmes, reusing old work. Often when I'm working through some pieces, I may refer to my sketchbooks, and quite often I will produce a piece by reusing some of my old paintings. This is a work in progress with a bit of painting stuck into it, and I've started to do some machining, machine stitching and hand stitching on this piece. These are just tester pieces to give you an idea of how I might progress with work. So it's an old drop cloth. On the left I've got laid out pieces of work. Some of it had already been hand stitched and machine stitched. I'd taken that out of an old piece of sampling. I found other pieces of cloth that I'd wiped brushes on or experimented with printmaking. So I've kind of laid out a very loose collage here to work with. So I often will work with the waste from my projects to create some of these simple landscape collages. Occasionally they're testers for pieces that are in progress, or I work with them as I'm working on larger pieces. So I'm going to just remove this and start laying out this piece for you with using paste. So here we go. And starting the process, I have laid down here some plastic. And the first thing I'm going to do is to work with the first bit of the background. These will flatten out as I paste them. I'm using cellulose paste. But I think it's really quite exciting to destroy and recreate your work again. It's just a way of working through processes. You know, you don't have to be so prescriptive over the way you work. That's perhaps why it's called painting with cloth, because I'm not trying to produce a design from the get-go. I'm just continuing the exploration. So I'm just going to rub the paste onto this small piece. The same process is used on my larger pieces. Sometimes my pieces can be up to 2 meters square and then they get dismantled for machining. Just work quickly and fluidly. I tend to make pieces that I can separate more easily when working on this process, so that as working you get the idea of, sorry about my head coming into shot there, I was just checking it was running. You get the idea of how the things might lay out, but if you make too larger pieces, especially when you're beginning, it's harder to place into your sewing machine. So the next layer is going down here, and I'm going to just let that overlap slightly, and I might just have a little bit of that green coming over the top. I'm actually working upside down, which is liberating, as I'm not then being over-conscious of what the overall background design would be, or the background layout rather. Working with that background layout provides me with a base on which I can machine stitch, add things to and take away as I wish. So here we go. Very, very carefully. I'm going to pull some of these edges out as I work, so flatten them a little bit. And just check that this edge is out. Oh yeah, that's a cut edge, so I don't like that cut edge. I'm going to just turn that round a little bit. It's interesting how you can make decisions as you work. It's always the case with me. I'll make decisions as I work. So while it's wet, old pair of scissors there. No, I'm going to just try and tear that. Even those tiny details. So this is very wet now, you can hear it as it's pulling. You can cut, but I love these torn edges. There we go. Lay it down again. And away we go. I'm just pushing that back down with the cloth. With the paste. There we go. And now the next piece, overlapping it slightly. I'm going to let that little bit of dark green come out. and then starting to work back in with some of the other pieces, and as I go through I'll explain where they came from. So this is a completely stitched sample, pulled off of somewhere else. I'm going to roughly position it before I paste it to see if I like it in that position. Make a couple of small adjustments to the back piece again. A little bit of that come out. There we go. Pressing it down. This is only CMC paste, so it's not going to hurt your hands. There we go, quite like that there. This piece of blue is going to lay over the top. Might have that off centre. Again, I'm looking at it upside down, so not being too concrete in decisions. And you can see some of these have been machine and hand stitched. They were built up with the paste beforehand. This is a torn piece from another piece of work. I think that goes there. And the blue one will go underneath there. So you can work with pieces that you've previously stitched. So having done that, I'm going to lift that, check that's thoroughly wet, go back down again and paste this down. Pasting when it's dry makes these layers easier to machine stitch. And I'm going to go all over with the paste. This little blue edge sticking out, this is a piece of blueprint cloth, so cyanotype. I did a during the summer. Let that lay down, and then this piece is going to go over the top, off centre I think, and in it goes. Bring it down a fraction. You could, if you wanted to, I quite like sometimes just twisting it slightly so it's not flat. There we go, that can go down. And then this piece is coming across just a fraction because it's picking up the colour from here. And down it goes. It's Wet Applique, so you can glue things together and you don't need to use pins. I'm going to use a tiny bit of conservation tissue or tissue text or Japanese paper, fine paper. I kind of like, sometimes you see it's held there, that will push some of that back. I'm not worried about it going all over. Yeah, I think there will be fine. Press it down, you see it becomes transparent when wet, but when it's dry it will go back to its colour. So I'll just push these colours back. This is a bit of paper. I'm going to lay that in here, remove the white bit, carefully lay that down. Here we go. And I might put another piece in. I just want to remove that white. And I've got a piece of silk here, and I just wondered, I quite like that broken colour. It may not work, but we'll see, shall we? Quite like that broken yellow, as though because it's autumn coming here, so it's that cool autumn meeting. There we are. I like that kind of broken cloth. Just pushing that down, and we'll use another piece. This was given to me by a good friend, and I tend to think about these bits when I'm working with them. Let's just see if we can fold that back. If it doesn't work, I can pull it out again with this paste, so that's great. So it might not work, but we'll see. Press that down, and I'm just going to be using another small piece of tissue to hold that down. It will dry light like that, but I can remove it afterwards if I want. Pressing it down. And I think for that piece we're almost there. So I spent some time machine stitching some of those earlier pieces that you saw, and these are the pieces that have been distressed and broken up again from an earlier piece of work that I'd created. Just carrying that colour up. As I said, this may not work. You never know. It's just picking up those colours, and we'll see where it goes. So if I go back to this piece, which is in stitch, just holding it underneath the camera, you can see how the similar elements have been used to create this more industrial landscape. It's got a lot of work to be done on it with stitch, but I'm just producing the backgrounds to work on. So that's the wet applique process.